Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me again for Kingdom Kids. If you remember last week, we started talking about the miracles that Jesus performed throughout his ministry. And today we're talking about another miracle that occurred fairly early in the ministry, and this is the miracle of the fishes. Some people call it the draught of fishes, and draught basically means like a whole bunch. So the bunch of fishes. And in this miracle, Jesus is walking along beside some water, and he's talking to the people around him, and he comes across these two empty boats. And he says, why don't we take this boat out and I can preach from the boat? So he does. He has Simon row him out to the center, and he preaches to this crowd from the boat. And while they're out there, after he does his speaking, he says, hey, why don't you drop that net over the side? And Simon says, we have been fishing all night and have not caught a thing, but because you asked it, I will do it. So Simon drops the net over the side and pulls it up, and it is full of fish. And so then they row back to shore. And when they get to shore, Simon, who Jesus later names Peter, and Andrew, Simon's brother, and James and John, the sons of Zebedee, all begin to follow Jesus. And so that's sort of one of the starts of Jesus' ministry. Now, a couple of things about the people in this story. Simon is a pretty common name back then. There was a lot of Simons. I think there are 13 different Simons mentioned in the New Testament. And this particular Simon, like I said, Jesus eventually names Peter. And he names him Peter because Petra is a word for rock. And he tells Simon, Peter, that you will be the rock on which I build my church. So you'll sometimes see Simon mentioned as Simon called Peter, Simon Peter, Saint Peter. He's called all these different names. It's all the same Simon. There is another Simon that is also a disciple of Jesus, and he's referred to almost always as Simon the Zealot. And he shows up later, and he's actually not talked about a whole lot, but he is one of the disciples of Jesus, so I don't want you to get confused. There are two Simons that follow Jesus. The one in this story is Simon, called Peter, and this particular Simon is pretty outspoken. If he thinks it, he's saying it, which is sometimes to his good and sometimes to his detriment, but he later becomes one of the major building blocks or pillars of the Christian church. So when Jesus said, you will be the rock on which I build my church, he really knew what he was talking about. And then, of course, we have Andrew and we have James and John, all of whom followed Jesus and became very important people in the ministry. In the Bible, there are all these different books, and in the New Testament specifically, there are different books that talk about the same things, and they are written by different people. So you will find different versions of the same story in different books. This story, The Miracle of the Fishes, is from the book of Luke, and you can find it in chapter 5. In the book of Matthew, it talks about this same event, but it doesn't mention the miracle. All it mentions is that Jesus came along and called forth these disciples, and they joined him and followed him. Now, we don't know why. We don't know if when Matthew wrote his book down, he just thought, everybody knows Jesus performs miracles, so let's just talk about these things, because Matthew thought that was what was important. Or maybe it's just that he wasn't there for it, and so he didn't want to talk about it. It's hard to say why the different people wrote down what they wrote, but it's sort of the same story in both of these books. But in Luke, it talks about the miracle of the fishes, and in Matthew, it talks about how he called them forth. And there's a really important line when Jesus called forth his disciples, and he said, go with me, and I will make you fishers of men. So that's a statement you'll hear probably a lot throughout your life, so that's where it comes from. All right, well, just like always, there's a printout in the box below. You can print it out and cut and paste and fill it in and make yourself a little picture to help remember this story. And I will see you next week when we talk about the next miracle of Jesus. Bye!